Welcome back to a Sip of Stardust. I'm just gonna hop into the intro here, and then we'll hop in. All right. Welcome, witches, mystics, and cosmic souls, to a Sip of Stardust. I'm your host, Allie, the Cosmic Space Witch, a professional astrologer with an esoteric twist. My specialty is galactic astrology, where I dive deep to explore the macrocosm of the sky and the microcosm of your soul. I look way past the typical forecast, incorporating asteroids, black holes, fixed stars, and the ancient mysteries, to give you an expanded and truly esoteric lens with which to view the grand design. Here, we'll sip on tea and we'll explore the astrology. Catch new episodes live here on Substack at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the night of the new and full moons, with recordings available the next day on all streaming platforms. We'll welcome magical guests, drink handcrafted tea, decode the myth, magic, and mystery found in the stars and in you. Each guest and conversation will revolve loosely around the archetypal dynamics of the zodiac sign of that night's moon. These conversations, however, will be timeless and able to be consumed at any point in the year. Tonight, for the Virgo Blood Moon LUNAR eclipse, we'll be chatting with body astrologer Xochitl, aka Starwitch Haven, on the topic of medical astrology, health, and the body, particularly when it comes to eclipses and the upcoming transit of Uranus in Gemini and what that may mean for us through a medical lens. Xochitl is a self-declared body astrologer, medical astrology student, and founder of Starwitch Haven. She has a BA in sociology from San Francisco State University. She approaches astrology through the lens of social systems, human behavior, and embodied experience. Originally self-taught, Sochi immersed herself in astrology through 8 years of independent study, devouring books, lectures, and chart practice whenever and wherever she could. She later refined her craft under Jason Fleming. Online, he's known as the Sagittarian Mind. I found him through you, and wow, big fan, yeah. Deepening her technical foundation and philosophical approach to birth charts. Her work evolved into a focused study of medical astrology, having completed a 2-year program at the Academy of Medical Astrology with Judith Hill, and is certified in levels 1, 2, and 3 of Kira Sutherland's Astrology of Health. Currently working on completing 4 and 5. It says my internet connection is unstable.
I can see.
Okay. Hopefully it fixes. I'm just going to exit out of this so that it doesn't stress me out. Okay, so she's currently working on completing 4 and 5. And by the way, you guys, Mercury is retrograde. I'm sure there's going to be tech issues, whatever. It is what it is. She is also pursuing her fundamentals certificate through Kepler College, continuing to integrate traditional, modern, and medical frameworks into her practice. With aspirations to study naturopathy, her long-term vision centers on holistic, ethical, and informed approaches to astrology and wellness. So she specializes in what she calls body astrology, exploring the connection between planetary placements, lifestyle practices, societal implications, and the human body as a whole. Her approach is rooted in practicality and empowerment, using astrology mindfully for awareness, not fear. So grab a cup and join us in a sip of stardust. Hi, Sochi.
Hi, Allie. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, the blood moon kicked my ass.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I was sharing with you earlier that I was on my period, and so as it was peaking, like, TMI, but the amount of blood that was coming out was like gnarly.
I feel you on that. Thankfully, mine was like coming to an end.
Yeah.
Coming to an end with that.
I mean,
Did you get any sleep last night?
So I'm such a Pisces rising that I feel like I leave my body at night and then don't come back. My husband, though, he definitely was very, like, up.
I was up, but it was like usually I am up. I am a night owl. I have a night chart. I was born at 4:42 in the morning. I can stay up till 4:42, no problem.
Yeah.
Um, and normally I'm up watching my little shows. You know, everybody's asleep and I'm watching my little shows. But last night I was tired and I wanted to sleep, but it was my fur baby. So I have 3 cats and a dog, and Virgo governs pets, and so I was like, "Of course, these pets are keeping me up all night." It was like one thing after another, and I was just laughing, but I was actually asleep at, like, 3, like, the time of the eclipse, I was asleep. I was woken up after, but I was like, "Oh," because usually I'm up. I'm up, so it's, like, ironic that I was asleep. I'm like, "I think it was all the Pisces energy." It was like, "No, go to slumber," you know?
Right. Plus, like, the South Node in Virgo is just kinda telling you, like, "Let go," and then Pisces tells you, "Surrender."
Exactly, exactly. And those nodes are, like, right on my ascendant and descendant right now, like, crossing them.
Oh, Jesus.
I know. Alright, so before we get into all the medical stuff, the eclipse and Uranus and Gemini, tell us a little bit about you. Maybe your journey into astrology, how you kind of became an astrologer, and then what it was about medical astrology that like fascinated you and like pulled you in that direction.
Well, like, even my journey to astrology is it's, like, maybe so Pisces rising where I'm like, I felt it always around me. I never I don't know, like, sat with it in real life hit me, you know?
You kind of glitched out. I Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay,
here.
there. It said something about your internet not being stable at the bottom because, you know,
How
Mercury, and then you kind
funny.
of froze, at least on
Yeah.
my end. I don't know. So can you
Nope,
just
on my end that my internet connection is unstable,
Oh,
but, like telling you earlier, Mercury retrograde is literally coming back to my ascendant, so I'm not surprised that I'm gonna experience this. Uh, it's just gonna be the vibe.
it's just gonna be the vibes. Can you just repeat a little bit what you were saying right there? Just
Okay,
'cause now I
so
can hear you.
the I always felt astrology. Um, I think where I was going was I grew up with astrology in terms that my, like, grandparents would watch, like, Walter Mercado, like, that was, like, the astrologer, and it was just funny because, like, every time Leo would come up, I would be like, "No, that is not a no." So I actually didn't even, like, really like, in that time, my mindset was, I didn't believe in astrology. I was like, "This is not true because it's not resonating." Not until, like, uh, I was, like, a full-blown adult, um, was I introduced to birth charts and then finding out that I was a Pisces rising. I was like, "Bitch, yes. Yes. Yes." Like, I relate, like, I especially when I was younger, I'd always be, like, daydreaming or drawing, doodling, and, um, also never really understood amongst my family members who are all, like, air heavy, a lot of Gemini. So, and them being that way, and finally having the astrology to kind of also see that they were so air, I was like, "Okay, like, now I'm a believer." Um, and then obviously through studying astrology, I got deeper into the fact of like, how do I make this practical or how do I use this in my life? And I'm a Sun Chiron 6 house person. And I noticed that a lot of like my ailments were also connected to how my chart operates. Um, Especially because I'm a very heavy water fire combination. And with a heavy water fire combination, I realized that I don't I don't do communication or practicality or, like, everyday life the same like everyone else. Like, I'm a very complicated, energetic being. I sometimes don't have the words to describe things, but I feel them before I can say them. And I think that's where it really pushed me to that side. And then later on, like, getting married and everything, I realized I had a partner who suffers from a lot of different things and that I could help him. And I think that brought alive my sixth house son, where I'm like, oh, I can be of service. Like, I found my purpose of like, he's going out to all these things, but now I know how to treat him or help him in that way. Um, and honestly, I think it continues to be my motivation, especially because I'm a Libra Mars Jupiter person. So I don't know. It's just like that's how I operate.
That Chiron too, because it's like your own healing journey led you to the wisdom so that you could be of service to others. I
Yeah,
think it's freaking fascinating that every single astrologer I have had on this podcast, including myself,
yeah,
has this story of I was in contact with astrology when I was young and I thought it was nonsense. Like all of us thought it was total nonsense because of like the horoscope type astrology we were coming in contact with. And then we all have this story of that moment in time where everything clicked and then we became obsessed and we just like went balls to the wall with it. It's so
yeah.
funny.
Well, like I think I heard from your other episodes that like you had were you also like COVID? Like COVID really ramped that up.
No, mine was like so I have like two different times where astrology became really big for me. Like when I was a teenager, when I was young, I thought it was nonsense because of the magazines. That's all I really knew was like the magazines. And then when I was like 18, 19, I was going to get a tattoo of Fleetwood Mac lyrics that said, I have always been a storm. And the guy who was giving me the tattoo was like, what's your birthday? And I was like, why? You don't believe in that horoscope stuff, do you? And he was like, actually, I do. What is your birthday? And he pulls the secret language of birthdays off the shelf and he
What?
reads it. And the first line is, you are the eye of the hurricane. And then it like went on to describe me to a fucking T. And I was like, what is this sorcery? And so when I was really young, like 18, 19, I'm almost 40 now. When I was 18, 19, was like, wow, there's something to this. And so I went and bought like tons of books, but I didn't have my birth time. And so I would do like little sun sign astrology, like with whatever boy I liked or like whatever friend or whatever, like look at the charts and try to understand like sun compatibility and like the basic traits. And I knew that there was something to astrology. And I kept asking my mom, like, what time was I born? What time was I born? And it wasn't on my birth certificate. And then around 2018, which was much later, this was like 2006, 2008, maybe around 2018, my mom got my birth time. And it was during this time, very crazy time in my life where I was going through like what some people might call a spiritual awakening and others might call spiritual psychosis. I'm not really sure what you want to call it, but it was crazy. And during that time, a lot of things were clicking for me. I associate it somewhat with what people who maybe take, like, ayahuasca kind of experience, and it was the same time that my mom was like, "Here's your birth time," and then my dad was like, "Here, I'll get you some astrology software," and then I never looked back. By 2000 late 2019, I was a practicing astrologer. I, like, dove in, learned everything, and then I was, like, a practicing astrologer, and by 2020, like, my business was growing, you
Yeah.
know?
No, that's
It was
cool.
a little bit before COVID, like a little before COVID. By COVID, I was like had like a little podcast and was like very vocal on the internet. Yeah. Okay. Are you drinking some tea?
Yes, I am. I have it in my dog mom cup. Um, I have a confession that I brewed it this morning because I knew I was gonna forget. So I made sure to put it here so that just for you.
Very Pisces, but now it's like an infusion. Like it's been sitting there, it's been brewing.
My intent.
What kind of tea is it? What are you drinking?
It's a raspberry leaf for menstrual and pregnancy support. You know, um,
Perfect. Perfect.
Let's try.
I am drinking one of the teas from Magic Hour Tea that I drink during all of these videos. This is the Virgo tea. I have not tried it yet, but it smells delicious. It smells like chocolate because there is like cocoa in it. And it says it's a tea of virtue, wit, and meticulous magic. And it soothes the nervous system, boosts immunity, and increases vitality. And Virgo is my first house, which has to do with your vitality. And so I'm like, I'm liking this. It smells so sweet and delicious. And my Virgo daughter, she already smelled it. She hasn't drank it yet. She'll get to drink it after this. But she was like, I approve. I approve. Smells very good.
I feel like mine does too. Is it?
Yeah, raspberry leaf is perfect for the time of month you find yourself in.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hop in to. I have a bunch of like questions written here, different topic directions we can kind of go. You already kind of told us about your journey into astrology and into learning and studying medical astrology. Um, but I have a couple questions for you. So, what do you find most interesting or most helpful about astrology, particularly the study of medical astrology? And what kind of breakthroughs has it helped facilitate for either you or your clients? Before you answer that, I just want to say that I have had my chart read by you through a medical lens after my last miscarriage. And this was like my hormones were completely out of whack. Like they were non existent after that. It took a while for them to kind of come back. And everything that you said in that session so far is panning out. You're like, it's not going to, you will conceive, but it's not going to be until after this point. And I'm thinking, it might be sooner. Well, no, that point is coming, that crossing of the nodes over the ascendant that you talked about. And then you also steered me in the direction of certain herbs. And I've been trying to conceive since 2021, and I have had no success for 3 years. And then in the past, like 2 years, I have succeeded twice, but it did not pan out. My cycle has always been very irregular my whole life. And yeah, I was ovulating really, really, really late. The 2 times I conceived, I ovulated because I track everything, Virgo rising. I ovulated cycle day 28 and cycle day 30, which does not make for a very good egg going forward. And so you were like, hey, here's a couple of herbs that you can try. And I was like, I'll give it a shot, but I've tried everything the forums say to try, the chaste berry and the vitex and the red raspberry leaf and all of these things. And particularly the one that I have seen immense success with. I am now ovulating at the normal time for the first time in my life and have had 3 normal cycles in a row for the first time in my whole life. You told me to get Shatavari. And girl, like anybody out there who has an ailment, go book with her and let her dive into your chart and help you with your ailments. First, I started with the Shatavari tincture, which I was always told, like, herbs are better tincture form because you get more of it, but it tastes so bad. I did get through almost the whole bottle, but it tastes so bad that I don't think I was taking enough. And so I switched to the Shatavari capsules. And when I read the reviews on this particular organic Shatavari, everybody in the comments was like, before I finished one bottle, my cycle regulated. I have endometriosis, I have PCOS, I have fibroids, I have this, I have that. And my cycle regulated before I finished the first bottle, and I did not have high hopes. But then I did it, and before I finished the first bottle, everything worked out. So I want to tell you that is one of the breakthroughs that you have helped facilitate, and I appreciate you so much. But I'd like to hear a little bit from you, like what kind of like practical, tangible things have you seen transpire for your clients because of the lens that medical astrology gives you with which to look at their health and their chart and their body?
No, totally. And you know what's funny? Because you're reminding me that I think that recommendation was one that I was channeling for you. Because there's like where I have my list of what I learned in school, and then there's my list of what I feel is right for you. Um again, because I'm so water dominant, I like to honor both sides of, like, the practical and the intuition part, and also being able to connect with your energy, and the thing is that I can make a list, even, like, on my own intuition, and still, like, when I connect with you, that gives me okay, yes, like, the confirmation or the validation of, like, okay, like, this is what I needed to tell her or whatever. Um but I'm so happy to hear that you're having a regular cycle now. I think the last year, I had probably three clients that were wanting help with their fertility. One of them has already conceived, but that was also her timing. Like, it's just so interesting that you have your chart, and when you learn how to read it, you learn how to work with your energy, and I think that's, like the level up, I feel, of, like, also reading natal charts, like because, like, astrology is great for, right, that self-awareness and gives, um, like a psychological lens nowadays, especially, like, in how you practice it, right?
Mhm.
Um But with well, not but also and this and medical astrology, um, it's allowed me to see, like, how do people, like, love on themselves or don't love on themselves? What are the things that they're storing, that also can be on a psychological level? Because, like, it's like that saying of, like, um, dis-ease is you being the
Mhm.
dis-ease. So and that's something I had even thought about, like, even before studying medical astrology, that our minds and how we grow up become physical manifestations of, of the trauma in a way. Um, the thing that I did wanna say, though, is that, even though, like, today that we'll talk about a lot of, different medical astrology in terms of certain signs and potential, um, ailments, doesn't doesn't mean that that's gonna happen to you or that that's your burden to bear. Because especially every chart, it's it's different, it's unique, and different trigger points are in the chart. And I think from what I've learned from, at least the 2, main, medical astrologers that I I see, Judith Hill and, Kira Sutherland, I like her where when you look at medical astrology, you're looking at your past history, and now from looking at your past history of how your body has done or adapted to your life, you then do proactive healthcare. Kind of, I also happen to get loans in naturopathy because I want to look at the body in a holistic lens. I want to do preventative care. I want to continue to look at um, natural, organic, healing methods, because ultimately, like, I think a lot of diseases are um, created within us with time, and some are ones that we do incarnate here with.
Mhm.
But it's just learning to work with them and what we got.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We forgot that little disclaimer you wanted to say in the beginning, but yeah.
yeah, and then that's because even that, like, so there's that, right, of, like, um if don't take anything that we're gonna say today, to heart or to cause, hypochondria. We don't or right? Hypochondria, hypo that
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, and especially during Virgo energy, like
yeah, don't we don't need to do that. And then also too, any recommendations, like, because, like, the herbs that I'll probably recommend later
Mhm.
on, um I wanna make sure that if you're on medication or pregnant, always consult a doctor or herbalist, because ultimately, again, I'm working on getting licensing to do this, in an ethical way. The where I'm at right now is, like, diet, exercise, and, if this aligns with your life, like, go check with your doctor. And then also too, like, our treatments or, like, recommendations, it's not an exhaustive list or even, like, let's say, um, what sign, what rules what. Like, it's so infinite, and also, I feel like some people have a hard time grasping medical astrology because it's extra, like, grayscale, where
Mhm.
some rulerships of the body intertwine with other ones, because like, everything's connected. Kinda like you would never suspect, like, Scorpio rules the nose. You would think only, like, okay, the rectum and, the fluids, like the mucus well, actually, that's why, Scorpio rules the nose because the mucus comes out of your nose. But fluids, defecation, all that stuff.
Yeah, I would think it's Aries because Aries rules the head.
Yeah,
You'd,
so
like, make that assumption. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. But
But
then
that makes sense.
rules, your teeth. Because
Mhm. Yeah.
of the yeah.
'Cause it governs the bones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bone.
Okay. I just wanna pull this one book out because this is my little recommendation. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, what are some books or resources that you would recommend to anybody out there in the audience who wants to explore the subject of medical astrology? So I know you learned under Judith Hill and Kira Sutherland,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, Beyond that, if there, because I have a couple medical astrology books that I do not recommend. They are dry, they are dense, they are is I cannot. But I want to hear from you, and then I have a little one.
So, honestly, if I would have started with the dry and dense books first, I probably would have given up. So, hold up. I do have them here because 'cause I'm a very visual person, so I like
Yeah,
to
I like to see the covers, and I'm gonna write this down so because I
okay,
too
okay.
am visual. Okay.
So this is the bitch, okay? This is the bitch.
Okay.
Like, I'm calling the book the bitch. This is the bitch that got me started on this. Um, and
Claire Gallagher.
yeah, Claire Gallagher. Oh my goodness. So, homegirl in here, like, thank you, Claire. Like, you inspired me and changed my life. So she has like websites in this book where she also links like certain movements for your for how to move your body as a Libra, a Scorpio. Um, she she made this so fun that I was like, "Yeah, like, fuck yeah, I wanna be a body astrologer." Mind you, I hadn't heard of medical astrology yet. Like, this is how, like, medical astrology was introduced to me, because technically body astrology, physical astrology, nutritional astrology is all interchangeable
Mhm.
in terms of, be called medical astrology. So and then because this book is body astrology, I was just like, because it was so accessible to me, I was like, "That's the way I wanna run my business, my way of doing astrology, of, like, accessibility, of, like, intimidation." Because I do feel like some people, when I say, "Oh, I'm a medical astrologer," or whatever, people right away go, "Oh, no." Like, "Don't talk to me." Like, I've had literally people be like, "I don't wanna know, I'm gonna die." Like, right away, that's a stigma. I'm like, "I'm trying to help you, actually, but whatever." Okay, so this is great. Has good illustrations, has a lot of lists. Like, this is kind of like breaks down all the planets. And then yeah, has websites. So that's the cool part, and the whole ass appendix. So
Nice. Love
it's
me an appendix.
yeah, and I also love that it was a hardcover. Like,
Same.
I love hardcover books. Like, that's I don't know, it appealed to me in so many ways. It was great. So this one is the one that got me started. And then after getting this book, I was like, I need to do a class. And so she doesn't offer classes. At least when I had first picked this up. And then I found Judith Hill after that online, and then that's why when I did her 2-year program. So that's that. And then naturally, because I feel like I'm so Cancer Moon Venus that I'm like loyal to a T, that from there I moved on to like Judith Hill and then Judith Hill's books. There's 2 that I'm a big fan of. Uh, this one, um, it's the astrological body types. Um, the only thing though is that it's also not an exhaustive list of characteristics. Um, because like this being the sociologist that I am, I'm like, it only gave like the characteristics of Caucasians, and I'm like, oh, okay, so what would a Mexican, like, because I'm Mexican, I'm like, how what would a Mexican look like if they were X, Y, or Z? So I feel like just more studies or books probably need to be done, or revisions to this, but it's pretty cool. It gives you like the body types. And then, also explains to you, um, like, by sect, so, like, day, night, um, what would be amplified for you visually. But it also has helped me, be able to determine, rising signs for people. You know,
Nice.
that's been great. And then this one is not necessarily, like, super into the nitty-gritty. 'Cause I have 2, it's just I feel like I can go on forever. But anyway, so this is, like, the one that she has for medical practitioners, and the reason I like
Medical
this one is because she gives stories. They
case
were
studies. Yeah.
Yeah, so, kinda, like, so this one doesn't have, like, case studies, it has more of, like, she's giving you examples of, like, if your doctor had a Saturn or is on your Saturn, right? Their natal Saturn is also on your Saturn. Um, don't pick them because um your medical outlook isn't going to be great because they're going to look at your situation, that like is not going to help you in terms of like bedside manner. So it's like very multifaceted in that sense where you are looking at it as like the patient, the practitioner, and the astrology. So I like that for that reason. Um but a
Now,
very
anytime I see a doctor, I'm gonna be like, "Can I get your day, time, and location of birth, please?"
Yeah, no, and that's the funny part that's like it tells you what type of people to pick into, like a practitioners to pick for yourself to get the best healthcare in a way. But it's like realistically, how are you gonna get your doctor's birth time, right?
You find their LinkedIn, and then you do a little, I got a Scorpio Mercury. I will find that birth time.
You
Maybe not the time, but I can at least find the day, and you'll know where the planets are. You won't know their houses, but you'll know where their Saturn is.
Right.
I will find that birthday.
I believe you could. I believe you really and then this one is a like super expanded edition of I feel like well, because she also has like a South Node, North Node book that's really good. It's just like honestly, anything by Judith Hill is just amazing. But this one's a good one because this one actually explains to you how medical astrology works. Like she breaks down um, literally through like the light process. So showing you in a in her complicated way. Because honestly, the way I treat medical astrology is very like yeah, photosynthesis. We're taking in the rays, like it as above so below. It's reflecting what's happening, and also can I think help of like us harness that energy.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I feel like these are good. I literally okay, so I still have these. Okay, like
Oh, so you do have the one that I was gonna recommend. So my recommendations for medical
But
astrology are not
you
the
back up.
Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology. Do not buy that book. It is fucking horrible. But I see that you have this one. This
You
is Healing with Astrology. This was the first. I got this at like a used bookstore in Oregon when I went and visited my dad, like right as I was finding like astrology software. And I like this. Very simple little starts to maybe kind of understanding the elements and how that may kind of show up. And it has like flower essences and different kind of things that you could use. This would be like a very small introduction to medical astrology. I also have like a report writer. So one of the softwares I use is Solar Fire software. And there's the Solar Fire astrology software. It's very expensive. And then they have these solar writer reports that can generate reports. It's written by a medical astrologer. Each of them are written by astrologers. The medical one is written by a medical astrologer, but it can generate reports based off your birth chart. And you can buy the writer program without having to buy the software. I think it's like 200 or something for like each of these writer programs. And I have dabbled with all of them, including the medical one. I'll do it like for me, I'll do it for like people in my life. I'll do it for like returning clients, always with like, hey, I'm not a medical astrologer. Grain of salt in everything you read on here. If there's something you want to expand on, I have sent a lot of people your way. Um, but I will say that that report and what it generates is freakishly accurate in my case. Like, I am a Libra, and Libra governs the kidneys. And the number one thing that has brought me to the hospital multiple times in my life to the point where it's like, is she going to die? Is gnarly kidney infections. And so I've had to get really serious after the last one about hydration and electrolytes and all of this stuff. But there were other things in there that I was just like, wow, these are I've never been like a real sickly person, but each of the ailments that I've had in my life was mentioned in this generated report. So solar writer, the medical report, definitely an interesting thing if you are an astrologer and you have an astrological framework and you want to maybe start dabbling in that. And then that book, but
Wait,
definitely not the
no,
Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology. Go ahead.
Fire had a super writer.
Say that again.
Is Solar Fire a solar writer as like their sub?
Yeah, so if you go to Solar Fire's website and you like look at the little tabs, one of the tabs will be like Solar Writer. And then there's different reports there. So there's like a children's report. It's called like Zodiac Child. And it's like written in the through the lens of like childhood, like for parents, like how to parent this child. There's a medical astrology. There's like a birth chart basics, I call it. I'm not sure what they call it, but I call it birth chart basics. It's like basically looking at your birth chart. There's one on like the traditional asteroids. And there's like a couple others, and they're all written by astrologers. And so an astrologer sat there and wrote a little bit for every single planet placement. So like if you have Mars in the first house, so you have Mars in the second, you have Mars in the third, they wrote something. And then when you put in your birth chart information, it picks from all of those things that you are, and then it puts it into a report, and it's like a PDF. You can go in and edit it too. So you could change little bits of it, you could edit it, you could make it your own, and then once you own that program, you can use it for your clients. You can send it to your clients. You can even charge for it if you want. I usually just add it for free to a session. If we're like medical things come up, I'm like, hey, I got this thing, I'll run it for you, but like grain of salt, you know? But yeah, it's great. I think you'd like dabbling with it. I could run yours for you. You send me your birth stuff, I'll run it for you and I'll send it over to you.
I'd be to see what it's saying.
Yeah, I'd like to get your 2 cents on it and see
Yeah.
how accurate it is. And it tells you a little bit about the astrologer. I wish I remembered the astrologer's name, but it has like her bio or his bio at the end. Okay. Thank you for those recommendations. I wrote down those books I will be buying, especially that first one that you were very excited about. All right, let's get into the eclipse. I want to
Mm.
talk a little bit about today's eclipse through the lens of medical astrology. I want to kind of get your 2 cents on what does medical astrology say about eclipses. I found it interesting that I had like put up a little story over on Instagram. I'm like, does anybody have any questions? And there were a couple, but they were all like a little bit too personal for this podcast. But one of them I thought was interesting. It wasn't really a question, it was just a statement that she works in hospitals. And during eclipses, are you there? You're kind of frozen. Are you there?
Yeah, here.
Okay. During eclipses, the hospitals are just chaotic. I know that's the case during normal full moons, but of course, during eclipses, I assume that would also be the case because eclipses are just a little chaotic. Um, I wrote a little bit here in regards to Virgo, and then I want to get your 2 cents on it. All right. So we know that Virgo governs the 6th house of
Mhm.
health and healing, and it has a strong connection to the body as well. Virgo is said to be responsible for discerning what the body keeps or holds on to or absorbs, and then what it also like discards. Full moons are moments of illumination. They bring revelations, and then they also, because of that revelation, ask us to release something, especially when it's an eclipse and especially when it's a south node eclipse, because these are particularly periods where we are asked to purge. Through a medical or body astrology lens, what is this eclipse asking for us? Like, what? I know it is dependent on your chart, but if you could give like a general kind of idea of what a south node, blood moon eclipse in Virgo would be kind of illuminating, because the full moons illuminate, but then a lunar eclipse then moves into the shadows of Earth, and there's still some light on her face. So I always look at it as a period where some of the hidden, shadowy parts of a certain sign can get illuminated for us if we're willing to pay attention. And in Virgo, I think it really has a lot to do with health, healing, service, anxiety, worry. But I'd like to hear what does medical astrology say about eclipses?
Right. Well, as a Leo Sun, Leo Mercury, I feel like the way I best describe this is in my experience, but doesn't mean that obviously mine is um in a certain archetype, and there's gonna be different experiences for other people. Um,
Mhm.
Me as someone that was going through my period, or if someone else was going through their period during blood moon, they would have noticed that this moon caused more. It also depends where you are in that stage. 'Cause obviously, we had talked that you were on it, but you're already at the end of it. As someone that was like in the middle of it, it was interesting because my first days are really heavy, but as we got closer to the peak of this blood moon, actually my blood was going. Again, TMI, but I was, yeah, to the point that I was clotting. And mind you, the way that I do my supplements and everything, I don't clot anymore. So that I was experiencing that, I was very like, damn, like this eclipse is taking me for all I got. And shedding a lot of I think also like maternal issues, which is funny because my mother herself is a Virgo. So I was also very reflective of like my maternal line, and ultimately I think about it as a like everything that was coming out helps to not harden the uterus, like when it's rebuilding. Because if it doesn't all come out, then it just all builds on top of that old that hasn't been released. So Even though it was kind of, like, gnarly to look at, it was also beautiful and, like, "Wow, my body really wants me to discard of all this to start brand new." And generally in like, blood moons, eclipses, in astrology, we see them as times, that are sensitive windows, right? Sensitive windows, and usually, we always recommend not doing, like, elective surgeries, because again, blood flow is also, it's just flowing, so that's not good when you're, on the operation table and your blood's kind of being dramatic and, a lot of blood loss, and, it's gonna take a lot of blood to get you going. Um, but, of course, like, there are exceptions for, like, if it's an emergency surgery, you just hope you have enough, of other planets and combinations that are on your side. Uh, and with Earth, since it was an Earth blood moon, it tends to also, um, cause stagnation or, like, slowing digestion, but luckily, we do have that south node that, is there that allows for letting go. So I did get a couple people who did text me saying that they had, constipated diarrhea. And I was like, my mind was a little blown, but it also made sense because technically when the blood moons are, in earth signs, it slows down, amplifies a slowing down process, um, and also affecting digestion because Virgo too, it rules over the intestines.
Mhm.
So, with the south node there, I was like, "Oh, well, that's great." Like, you're flushing things out, but I didn't see it going to that next level of,
Mhm.
okay, like, you're struggling, but you're also really letting go. But then that just means, extra hydration is needed, and then usually during eclipses, generally, is that there's a lot of, like, random, like, onsets, right, of, like, flare-ups, those occur. I kind of almost see eclipses kind of in the same fashion that I do, like, Uranus transits, because it's just like
Unpredictable and chaotic.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely. Unpredictable and chaotic, but it usually has a purpose. Like eclipse is chaos. Uranus is trying to facilitate some form of like breakthrough or insight. It wants you to kind of notice something and it does it in a shocking way. And eclipses as well, they're very fated, they're very destined, and the chaos usually has a purpose because it's something that you need to pay attention to or is something you need to let go.
Yeah, yeah.
I have I have 2 questions here, and you already kinda touched on both these, but I wanna kinda expand. So one of them is the fact that it rules the intestines, the other one has to do with the blood, but let's start with the intestines. So, Virgo governs the small intestines, and it's also, from my understanding, said to govern the sympathetic nervous system. And so and Virgo is also like a Mercury ruled sign, which has a lot to do with the mind. And so I thought maybe we can expand on the topic or the idea of like the gut brain axis and how Virgo may have something to do with the two of these working together or needing to work together.
Well, yeah, I think it's and being a Leo Mercury myself, um, I feel it in a Cancer moon way where whatever whatever I'm feeling is what my gut does. And I feel like with that mind gut access, also myself being Pisces rising on a Pisces Virgo axis, um, like like energy hits me. I'm very permeable, in that way, and I feel like if you don't have like the right environment, either right environment, like friend group, or the information you consume, that I think also gets into your gut. It's kind of like if things make you feel nervous, right? Some people have the thing where either they will eat too much, depending on their again their chart, or they will eat not at all, because of the feelings. Or like right now, right, that like everyone feels so like it's the end of the world, and and everyone's just like, well, live my best life or ration. Again, depending on your chart, like that's gonna affect how you proceed on how you nourish yourself. Um, yeah,
And probably has something to the nourishment probably has something to do with how well your mind can work during these times, right? Like if we're not feeding our gut, our brain is not going to be able to work properly. You know
it's
what I mean? And
vice versa. Like it's like
I
if your mind is not right, the gut kind of doesn't take in the right nutrients, and then like let's say you're not feeding yourself right, then your mind is can get a little like uneasy or all over the place. This especially with the South Node in Virgo, I was very keen on taking like leaky gut supplements that included like magnesium, um, fuck, I forget what the other supplement is called. Lysine, it's with an L, but it's like a triple something, to really help with, like, getting your gut to feel, like, stable. Um, and literally that has been, like, a big game changer because at the start of the South Node, in Virgo transit, I was not doing well. I was very unwell gut-wise.
think the South Node, and we talked about this in the last podcast, that South Node in Virgo, I feel like has forced everybody in their own unique way, depending on how it's aspecting their chart, what house it's in, whatever. But I feel like the South Node in Virgo has forced us all to kind of look at our health
Yeah.
differently. And I even said how it's not just like my health, Virgo governs pets. I've also been focusing so much on my pet's health. And it's
Yeah.
because of certain things coming up out of left field, very chaotic and unpredictable, that like forced me to learn a whole bunch of like veterinary medicine and all of this stuff because I can't trust any doctors. If I had listened to the vets, I'd have one dead cat and one half blind cat. But
Yeah, but I've been seeing so many, like, people lose animals this, like, this few years.
yeah,
Um, that's also
both my brother and sister have lost their, like, longtime dogs as Virgo's South Node was transiting. I've seen it with so many clients. It's like somewhat of a mass exodus of pets.
literally yeah. I've seen, like, the positive of Pisces North Node, which is that people now are really into their lymphatic system, clearing it, which also helps Virgo, um, and their system. Because ultimately, like in medical astrology, like the axis is your remediation. So Virgo Pisces axis, if you're not treating like Pisces body parts, you're also kind of forgetting Virgo. So it's like literally balancing the whole chart that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So I was kind of pondering this concept of a blood moon and trying to think of it through a medical astrology lens. Again, I am not a medical astrologer, so I would like your 2 cents. But from my understanding, Virgo governs the spleen,
Yeah.
and the spleen filters our blood. That's like one of its jobs is filtering our blood. And so I'm wondering what you could tell us about Virgo and like blood purification and
Right.
how that may be kind of showing up with this eclipse.
So, um, Virgo, but Libra too, like with the filtration, and then also spewing or spilling in a little bit with Scorpio because of the again, like I told you, like there's like a gray scale how medical astrology operates. And with Virgo, I feel like the South Node has been asking us for a long time now, right? Like the self-care part, but also um literally like feeding yourself better, right? Feeding yourself better, um not putting yourself on the chopping block or, like, that martyr syndrome, right? Of, like, okay, you don't have to die for things to live. Like, actually, you can live too. Um, 'Cause, like, I also can't look at, like, let's say, like, the South Node Virgo without and the Moon without the North Node, Pisces and everything else is going on over there, and balancing that energy, I feel like is tapping in and feeling literally where are you aligned in your life? Like, what are the things that are draining your energy? Because ultimately too, Pisces is a very energetic, um, intuitive sign, and I think a lot of people have been ignoring a lot of things because they have other things in their face, and I get it. It's the time right now where everything needs attention, but it's like in everything needing attention, we also kind of lose ourselves. And I think that's also kind of like the story of Pisces and Virgo, that both like where they share common ground is that they can get lost in like the big fucking picture, or even lost in like
Details.
yeah.
The
So
details, 100%.
well, maybe it's the Libra, Jupiter, Mars in me that's just like it's all a balance. Like it's all a balance. Like that's where I feel like what needs to get filtered is yeah, like what is it that you're consuming? What is it that you're doing? The people like literally like the people that you're with. Like there's so many clients that I've had that they tell me that they can't maintain the groups that they're in, or the friends that they have, because they don't feel supported or they don't feel aligned, like, and I think that's also the North Node Pisces, spiritual maturation. I think people are just realizing, like, it's just not for them, and I think too, like, even in interactions, like the spleen, depending on your chart, a lot of your energy can get stored there. It kinda reminds me of, like certain traumas get stored in certain different body parts, and I think, I think if you're not careful, right, with, like, how you're taking in your day, you might have that under fire or on high alert that it'll actually start to ache if you're and that's also kinda like, bringing you back in a meditation type of way. Like, I think actually medical astrology is a meditation, um, where it makes you aware of your body.
That's interesting that you say that the spleen can kind of hold on to energy or things like that, because that's a Virgo trait. Like Virgo represses.
Mhm.
Virgo, especially this like martyr self sacrifice. Both Pisces and Virgo have that like sacrifice themes about them. Um, but Virgo holds on, and then it manifests as like anxiety and worry and um health ailments, you know? I see this in my daughter. She doesn't have any health problems yet, but she 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 also has some Libra placements too, but she kind of like shrinks herself and bites her tongue. And like my Leo daughter and me with a bunch of Sag placements, like we will say the thing. We don't care. I'm a Libra sun, but I will fight a motherfucker. I'm gonna say the thing. I don't care about keeping the peace. You know what I mean? I got Mars in the first house. Like I don't really care. She she does want she doesn't want to shake the boat, but you can see it on her face, and she like holds it in. And I told her, I was like, you got to learn to take up more space, and you got to learn to say what's on your mind, because if you keep holding it inside, it's going to fester and it's going to make you physically ill and physically sick later on. And ever since I said that, I think she's been a little bit better about it, at least with her sister, not so much with her dad. We're working on that. But with her sister, I can hear her, like, speaking up a little bit more, because her younger sister is a Leo, but she's a little fucking tyrant, man. Little dictator. I'm always telling her, "Take the crown off." And then the dynamic between, like, big sister, little sister is not the way it normally is, because the little sister is Leo stellium, big sister Virgo stellium, and Leo is a little
Also,
domineering.
sorry, half of my kind.
Oh, okay, let's talk a little bit about the stuff in Pisces. So, the ruling planet of this eclipse is Mercury. and it is retrograde in Pisces. We also have Mars in Pisces, the North Node in Pisces, the Sun in Pisces, Venus in Pisces. So we got a lot of Pisces energy. And so the moon, yeah, we got the blood moon in Virgo, conjunct the south node. There's some sort of purging happening there, something that we need to kind of work through, maybe some sort of karmic lesson, karmic test. But there's a lot of stuff pulling us towards Pisces, including the ruling planet of this eclipse, which is retrograde. What does medical astrology, like through a medical astrology lens, how could we kind of look at this retrograde? What does it even say about retrogrades? I have no idea. And how might we kind of put that into words?
Well, like, similarly, like how I feel like in a lot of astrology, like pop astrology, it's always like, reflect. You're getting texts from your ex, right? I feel like in a similar fashion, medical astrology is like, remember that ailment that you thought was hurting you, but you did nothing to address. It's back, I feel like there's a little bit of that, and then there's also, um, if you haven't put up protections or protocols to save yourself, help yourself, people also do, I think, get sick during this time. Almost in a like, "Wait, where did that come from?" And it's like, well, yeah, like, it's gonna kick you on your ass. If it didn't physically, energetically, it will. Um, that's how I kinda see that. Um I do feel like there's a lot of things I think that you can do with all these, like, to take advantage and harness the Pisces energy is the ability to have boundaries, the ability to say no, the ability to like go, surrender to things, kind of like not letting things kill your soul. Because I think as a Pisces rising, that's where my perspective is at, where I feel when things get so heavy, I'm like, okay, so all this is going down. All I can really do is, I guess, like, take in a little bit of the Virgo and, handle what's here in front of me, this detail.
Yeah.
So, again, like, I focus on both at the same time, because it's just it helps me to move forward in that way. Because like, I'm not leaving a sign out. Uh, so I feel like that, like, handling my minute by minute and then vibing with that minute, staying present, because that's also part of juggling both the Pisces and Virgo axis. Because I'm not trying to go too far into the future. I feel like, Pluto's doing that one degree at a time. Um, and yeah, like, I think right now Pisces is also trying to show us medically, like, what rings true to you, what feels aligned to you, and then allow that to be part of your routine health habit.
Mm.
Especially, like, you've been getting a vibe or an itch of like, oh, like, I've been really liking, like, people calling themselves Pilates princesses. Maybe you should fucking do Pilates. Like, I guess there's like how Pisces energy works is like a thought comes through and then you start to embody that thought because it just kind of came into your orbit. And I feel like that's what also the Piscean energy is allowing us to do, to like pick up on our things, but also pick up on other people's things or energies. And I think that's also where then the Virgo just comes in, because you're also seeing the people around you and you're like, oh, actually, I think that friend doesn't like me that much, or that friend, doesn't appreciate me. And for some people, for their health, they do need to be appreciated. Like Leo, Mars, and Venuses, they need to be appreciated. Like more than the fucking Leo Sun, I would argue. Um, and it's not good for their health to not go a day without a star on their board or whatever. So I feel like, that's also part of the Pisces Virgo energy, where you discern of like, you know what, I want better people for myself. or I'm reading or picking up these signs, and the signs are saying, leave this group, or get involved in this, because like, I like how it sounds to be called the Pilates princess.
I would also add that, Virgo's focused on practical matters usually and practical health. But in order for us to truly be healthy, we need that Pisces energy. And so it's that certain level of like spiritual development, the
Yeah.
stuff that like feeds your soul, makes you feel like you're part of the big picture, the grand design. I feel like spiritual development is so important for our holistic mind, body, soul health. And I think that that is one of the lessons of this like South Node, North Node transit. I do want to add that in regards to the Mercury retrograde, the like repeating health things, definitely what happened for me. So I had a root canal done in like December. Well, first I had it done temporarily, then I had it actually done in December, and then I was like supposed to go get a crown. But I kept putting it off because I don't like the dentist. So I kept putting it off. And then finally I was like, "Oh, I need to call them so they could put in for the insurance to like approve the crown." And so I thought this was going to take a while for the approval process, but I went in, they did the x-ray, they asked me if I had any pain, and I was like, "No, I don't have any pain." And they were like, "Okay, well, we'll put it in for the approval." And then the days while I was waiting for the approval, I'm like poking my face. I'm like, "Actually, there is a little bit of pain." And then when they called, we're like, "Okay, we're ready. You can come in for your root canal." I'm like, "Wait, Mercury's retrograde. I can't go get a fucking root canal while Mercury is retrograde. It's mid eclipse season. Like, there's something wrong here. I feel like this pain is something, and I need to go get another X-ray." And so they sent me to the people who did the root canal. And I was like, "I have a little pain." And then they did the X-ray, and you could see there was like still a little bit of a shadow there because I had a really bad infection. It was so bad. My filling had like cracked and I didn't know it. And then I got like a whole bad infection in my face. My face swelled up. It was horrible. I've never had a root canal before. It was my first one. And so he redid the root canal. And I was like, of course, I'm having a root canal redone for the third time, mind you, same tooth, um, before I can get this crown. And then the dentist is like, "Okay, you want to come to get the crown now?" I was like, "No, he told me I need to wait 2 to 4 weeks." And that is on par with Mercury stationing direct. So I will not be scheduling that until after the 20th. Thank you very much. He told me to make sure the pain leaves. And they probably think I'm so crazy. The lady was laughing. She must know, at least have heard what Mercury retrograde was. I was like, "Nope, we'll do it after the 20th."
See how much like agency, autonomy you gave yourself by knowing your astrology?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't like I like that too, because okay, especially with like me being a Sun Chiron type of person, I used to be a lot more meek and not say things, like a little almost like borderline mute.
Mhm.
And now with having my like facts, like I consider astrology my facts. And it's allowed me to advocate for myself like that. Like why, like justify why I'm doing things, because that's my logic.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm just like, I know if I go get the crown now, it's like way harder to take off a crown and fix an issue. So I'm like, I don't want it yet. Like, just wait. It will be
Yeah.
there when I'm ready for it. And they probably think I'm crazy, but like, whatever. All right, I have one more question about the eclipse, then we'll move on to Uranus and Gemini. Okay.
Yeah.
So Virgo, when we have strong Virgo energy, like a Virgo full moon or a lunar eclipse, which is like a full moon on steroids,
Yeah.
the like more negative Virgo or whatever signs traits can be heightened. In Virgo's case, it's like stress and anxiety and things like that. And so I'm wondering if there are any herbs that maybe could help us right now kind of navigate the next couple of days as we move out of eclipse season, or even as Mercury is retrograde, with mercurial type herbs. Anything that can anything comes to mind. If you don't have anything come to mind, we can just move on. But
Yeah.
um,
Well, like, the point is to relax the nervous system, right? And
mhm.
feel like chamomile does that pretty well, of just soothing and bringing you down. Also, not a tea, but I had seen your story earlier today of, what was it? Club soda, water soda, sparkling?
I am obsessed with this German water. It comes out of a volcano. It's like so I'm paranoid about all the contaminants in water, which is one of the reasons why I don't drink enough water and why the reasons I ended up in a hospital with a kidney infection. And so I did a bunch of crazy research about what water isn't gonna fucking kill me, right? And I settled on this. I think it's called Glosteiner. I don't know. It's like naturally sparkling, so it's not like synthetic. The bubbles come from the earth and it's highly filtered by like volcanic rocks and it's really high in like magnesium and potassium. And so it has like high levels of minerals and really low levels of contaminants. And so I've been drinking a lot of that. It's also really high in silica. And apparently, there's a bunch of science behind drinking a liter of silica dense water a day, and it helps to detox the body of heavy metals, particularly aluminum. And I had a hair tissue mineral analysis done, and my aluminum levels were like crazy high. And I wanted to find like a natural gentle detox because it's not good to do like a really intense heavy metal detox when you're trying to conceive because it can like pull everything out and they'll be floating around and it will like end up in the baby.
Celery juice alone would help.
Celery juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
'Cause, that's, from the medical medium.
Mm.
The whole thing of, like, drink, when you first wake up, warm water, lemon, wait 30 minutes, and celery juice, and then in another water and lemon, warm water, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that flush your system, and you can do it for a week. I think that
Yeah, this starts flushing. Like there's a lot of science. I read all the studies. They're like even within a week, like the levels of aluminum in the body's holding on to, which I'm pretty sure I have the MTHFR gene, which makes your body unable to like naturally detox contaminants. Like other people's bodies can just get stuff out, and then certain people hold on to it. And I think I've been holding on to it my whole life. So, yeah, high levels of magnesium and then also like B12 and folate methylated versions help with the detoxing of the contaminants.
So with your water, what it reminded me of is, like, that, the bubbles are good for relaxing, because then you're introducing, CO2 into your system. It has the same effect as, like, you, breathing out of a paper bag. Like, is you know how people would do that from having panic attacks? So sparkling water has the same effect. It's just without all the drops, and then keeps you calm. It's also a recommendation for a lot of Leos, because Leos tend to suffer from, like, panic attacks.
I did not know that. I just was like, oh, I don't like drinking like still water, honestly, because it's boring.
Yeah.
And so I would never be able to drink enough water in a day. And then I found like, this bubbly water, and it's like natural. The bubbles come from nature. It's not like synthetically added or anything. And I don't know. It's like I enjoy drinking it. And I feel like it's giving me this little bit of like a dopamine hit. And so I want to drink it and I'm constantly drinking it. And so I'm like, "Oh, I think I hacked. I hacked the water, like how to actually get water into my system."
Yeah, you've calmed your nervous system.
Yeah, I feel that. I actually do feel that. And the magnesium does that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because before I was drinking, like, the reverse osmosis water with the filtration system, and, like, I just don't feel like it's really doing a good enough job getting everything out of our tap water, and so I wasn't drinking it as much as I should, and then I got, like, the mineral drops to, like, add in the mineral drops, and it just tastes gross. I'm like, "I hate this. I'm not drinking this." So I'd have to put, like, lemon and other things in it to, like, trick myself into drinking it. And then now the bubbles. I'm obsessed with the bubbles. Bubbles make me happy. I like the bubbles. Okay. Let's let's move on to Uranus and Gemini. Okay. We have a lot of major shifts this year. planets changing signs, Saturn, Neptune moving into Aries, meeting, having their conjunction. These are things that have already happened. Our next major shift is Uranus moving into Gemini. It happens in April. Most astrologers, whether they are medical astrologers or not, most of us realize that this will majorly impact our nervous systems really immensely. Can you maybe kind of break down from a medical astrology lens what we might expect from Uranus and Gemini beyond just the nervous system? And then I have other kind of places we can go.
Yeah. Well, like, I'm the type of girly that likes to look back to then look forward, right?
Hmm.
So with Taurus, Uranus that we're finally finalizing, uh, I feel like it's had us, well, had us in like a state of terror, honestly, in terms of like finances, stability, just like am I gonna be okay? Like security, right? 'Cause that Taurus is security. And I think when you embody that fear, that disease pops up. And in Taurus, it was like the thyroid, your vocal cords, um, also hormonal fluctuations. Um, and I did get a lot of clients that suffered from hypo and yeah, hypo and hyperthyroidism. Um, and everything kind of came down to from what I remember from the cases was very much the material security was the loudest thing that caused them so much stress to like activate their thyroid to want to kick in overdrive. And uh and having seen that lesson, I feel like now with Gemini in well, Uranus and Gemini, I feel like the people healing all that are now moving into a place of like, can I trust that I'm gonna be secure? Am I gonna trust because it's very much can I trust the information is Uranus Gemini. And in the body it can look like tweaking, ticks, spasm, um lungs, like your lungs not functioning properly, even lungs collapsing, especially because I think about the the Aquarius Pluto making a trine. Like I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see on the news someone's lung collapsed. um I also like I feel that the nervous system's gonna be attacked because of all the information overload. I think we've been getting previews of that, especially when uh Uranus was in Gemini last year. Um
Hmm.
and yeah, like I do think about how we can remediate that, but it's going to be us having to kind of like step away from kind of almost like getting like too closed in or get hermity about what's going on collectively and branch out. And I think that's why I really appreciate seeing so many like community efforts pop up, because I think that will also help people get out of feeling in a fight or flight mode. Especially because like that too, like now we're in um Aries, Neptune, Saturn. Like so many people want to fight. And plus that the Uranus Gemini, I don't doubt that we will be seeing fights. Uh,
Yeah.
like that's so fucking real. But
And the Uranus and Gemini, a lot of that will be like verbal fights. Like the comment sections are going to be popping off.
uh,
Like it's
yeah,
definitely going to be like through word, like
so
through written word.
like I definitely see that. But that too, like also like insomnia, people that are like sleep deprived. I don't doubt that that's gonna be all over the place. And then two people can't function, can't function properly without proper sleep.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't help that there's so many people that, having survived Uranus and Taurus, because of all this insecurity, are now also dealing with the repercussions of having all that, and then also, depending on how your chart looks, manifest into something.
Yeah. It's interesting that you had mentioned the thyroid with Uranus in Taurus. I know that Uranus governs the neck, and I mean that Taurus governs the neck, and I mean it would make sense that it governs the thyroid, and that has been one of the things that I have been focusing on with Uranus in Taurus without even realizing that it had an astrological association is thyroid health
Right?
and
Your metabolism,
supplementing food. Go ahead.
and it rules your metabolism also, like, your thyroid, it
Mhm.
helps you control that, like, if it needs to kick in or not.
And the thyroid, I mean, again, I'm trying to conceive, so I've had to learn all about the hormone system, and the thyroid is super important. Like, it literally makes a majority of our hormones. Not all of them. Some of them are made other places, like progesterone comes from like the follicle and things like that. But it's so important, and we did not pay attention to this enough. And I feel like I am seeing a lot. I've seen like a rise in the like realization, especially in like certain age group women, of the importance of thyroid health. Like even when I'm going to like Sprouts and I'm standing there in line, I'm seeing they have the little magazines and there's like a whole magazine dedicated to like thyroid, how to eat for your thyroid, this and that. I'm just like, okay, a lot of people are focusing on this. Um, for me, I had to supplement with iodine because the salt I use like Celtic sea salt. It doesn't have any iodine in it, and I figured I was not getting enough. My levels were not bad. Like if you look at my blood tests through like the doctor was like, everything's good, everything's fine. But when I researched the levels through like more of a like foundational medicine lens, functional medicine lens, my levels were a little off. And so I started supplementing with like natural iodine. It's from like kelp. I think it's like kelp, but it's like a little capsule.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like the seaweed, uh
Yeah, it's like seaweed. Yeah. And I haven't had another blood test, but I do feel better. Like I feel genuinely better. You know what I mean? A little bit less like I want to jump off a cliff. Like when your hormones are out of whack, especially after like postpartum or after a miscarriage, when everything is like low, 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 your will to live is down there too. You know what I mean? And I was not feeling great. And I do believe that it's a lot of the supplements that I'm taking and the fact that I'm trying to like nourish my body that makes my mind feel better. But definitely interesting that you said that Uranus governs the thyroid because I'm seeing such a like focus, like even in my feed on like thyroid health. Like people are definitely paying attention to that. And then with Uranus moving into Gemini, it's definitely going to be this like onslaught of information. Gemini governs the mind, it governs the mind processing data, information. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, the ruling planet of Gemini. And so it's going to be so freaking heightened. So I wrote here.
Out that people might even get, like, schizophrenia, like, mental fragmentation, like, that's
Mhm.
like, I feel like this would be the time, if, my FBI agent is listening, um, to create more, like, mental health, um, like, clinics or something in that regard because, like, I feel like we're gonna see more and more people that just lost it.
Yeah. Uranus is erratic. And Uranus and Gemini, people are going to be erratic, 100%. All right, so I wrote here that Uranus is associated with electricity. Like
Mhm.
Uranus governs electricity, and we are electric beings.
Mm.
We have this like electric body. It's known as our nervous system. Um, I researched a little bit about the nervous system. So Uranus governs electricity, which our body has an electricness about it. It's our nervous system. This is our high-speed communication network, which uses electrical signals as well as apparently ions like sodium and potassium. I didn't not know this, but we're going to come back to this. To
Mhm.
control our muscles, our senses, and bodily functions. Gemini is associated with communication, just like these like neural pathways or these communication networks. Gemini is associated with the peripheral nervous system, apparently, in medical astrology. These are the nerves in the head and the neck and the body that carry messages to the brain and the spinal cord. And so, with Uranus having so much to do with the electrical part of the impulses within our physical body, and Gemini too, literally governing parts of that nervous system. When I wrote my article here on Substack last year, when Uranus first dipped into Taurus, I did not write from a medical astrology perspective. I just wrote from the knowledge of Uranus being heightened senses, heightened awareness, and Gemini being information, communication, messages, and the fact that our mind is going to be like firing on all cylinders, and that this can become very erratic and also like fry our circuits. And so, from a medical astrology lens, how do you think that this is really going to impact our like collective, because we're part of a collective consciousness too, like our
Yeah.
collective nervous system, and like what can we do other than unplug from the constant onslaught of data and information? What can we do to try to prevent the inevitable burnout that is probably on the horizon for many of us?
Well, like how I was saying earlier, like in medical astrology, you always look to the other sign for the remediation, help, to help out the sign that's being affected at the time. And I think by putting on like this like Sagittarius mindset of like, looking beyond yourself, or even taking in how Sagittarius is a active like it's a horse and a man, like out there doing shit, doing archery, like they're getting and going. And I think part of the Gemini Uranus energy benefits from that, to shake shit up, of like go get active, literally shit, like when you don't feel good or your mind is racing too much, take that shit off, literally. Um, also, because like, I know a lot of people say, like, breathe or meditate, but I feel like with Gemini, Uranus, and, like, how you were saying how everything's just gonna be more, 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 amplified in that regard, I think the meditations might bring people into some psychosis.
Mm.
So I would actually encourage more of just, um again, the Sagittarius energy, where they're looking into, I feel, uh, different modalities from different cultures, right? Obviously not
Mhm.
appropriating, but, looking into what natural remedies someone can use, or, something that's, like, if you admire, like, let's say salsa dancing, go salsa dancing, um, do things that just get you out of your head, your body, I
Yeah.
guess? Right? Like, feeling your body, your existence. I really like what you did say of, like, like, just cutting off the information. I think that is gonna be something that people will need to do, reducing. I've seen that be more and more popular even now, right? Of, like, people get, like, these little bricks, and then they close
Mhm.
their phones and open them when they can. Um, but I also think that it would be healthy for people to, take electrolytes.
Mhm.
That would help, just not, like, 24/7, but I think, especially if you're feeling fatigued, I think electrolytes can help, spruce up people's energies, like
And it
those.
says that the electrical signals in our body need sodium and potassium to work, and those are electrolytes.
Yes, yes. So, because like, I take the packet kinds, so, like, the LMNT, those are usually pretty good, like its element, I think. Those are pretty good. I'm trying to think which other ones
That bubbly water I drink has it in there.
yeah, that one seems like a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just
Um, go ahead.
well, like people pausing, allowing them for like taking a breather, taking a step back, but not so you're like you can't come back.
Yeah. I love that you always pull from the opposite sign for the remedy. I'm really big on the fact that I don't believe there are 12 independent signs. I look at it as six different like axis of polarities.
Yeah.
They are two sides of one being and they both have what each other lacks. And Sag is technically not half horse, half man. He's half horse, half God. And so with
Oh,
Sag, he is, the myths is like my thing. uh, so Sag is like, yeah, it's traveling, it's other cultures, but it's also like taking in information, but not like Gemini. Gemini will just take in any sort of information, a little bit here, a little bit there with no purpose. Sag is using that like higher mind, that higher self, and it wants to take in information with a purpose, with the purpose of growing or expanding or some sort of philosophical exploration or higher learning or higher education, that essence of the teacher, the mentor. And so I feel like our mind is going to be so active right now. And the point, I feel like how we can kind of navigate this effectively is like finding an outlet for that mental energy that helps us to grow, helps us to expand, helps us to tap into that higher mind and not that just taking in any sort of thing that the feed freaking gives us. You know what I mean? Something with a purpose.
think even I've seen a lot more people actually search for where they're gonna go, get an extra credential or because like that's becoming super popular again of like let me take classes, let me go to workshops.
Mhm.
That's gonna be the nervous system stabilizer too.
Yeah. We're going to get towards the end, we're going to talk about how some of us who have Uranus in Sag will be going through our Uranus opposition. I guess maybe we could just do that now. So I have Uranus in Sagittarius. If you were born between 1981 and 1988, you have Uranus in Sagittarius. And so you're heading into your Uranus opposition, which happens like you feel it around 38 to 46, but it usually peaks around 41, 42. So mine's later degrees Sag. But once it dips into Gemini, that kicks off, I'm 38, that kicks off your Uranus opposition. And so those of us who have Uranus and Sag, I feel like we particularly are going to be feeling that call towards higher education, higher study, breaking free. Like when you have your Uranus opposition, it's a midlife transit where I tell my clients, it's where you kind of give the middle finger to your family, to society, to everywhere that you had to shrink who you truly are in order to fit in and be accepted. And you just go be your weird, crazy, authentic, a little erratic kind of self. And you're really trying to break free from anything that's keeping you from your authentic expression. And sometimes it's a little chaotic how people go about doing this. But I feel like those of us with Uranus and Sag, we particularly are going to have to tap into that higher mind during this time. And I feel like many of us will be embracing the like teacher, mentor archetype. Like I have my course right now. I also am wanting to write a book, that's very Sagittarian. Um, but yeah, maybe we could talk a little bit. I have, of course, more questions about Uranus and Sag, but since we're on this topic, there are going to be a couple of different generations that will be impacted most strongly. Of course, the mutable signs, if you have personal planets in the mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces, you want to take a look at where that kind of falls in your chart, what house that kind of falls in. That area of your life is going to be impacted by Uranus. You may experience some sort of radical changes or breakthroughs in that area of your life. But then there are certain generations that are going through major Uranus transits. If you were born between 1961 and 1968, you will be going through your Uranus square, your later life closing square. This is kind of around 60 to 64, the age group 60 to 64. They have Uranus in Virgo. So, particularly for them, I feel like this can be kind of like a health wake up call, some sort of erratic, unpredictable event that forces them to make radical changes in their life, maybe some sort of unsettling type phase that forces them to make some sort of radical changes, or even some sort of unpredictable health crisis could come forth. I am seeing this for Eddie's sisters are a lot older than him. They were born in the 60s. He was born in the 70s. And his oldest sister just had a stroke right around the last eclipse. And she has Uranus in Virgo. And so that kind of like really unpredictable, out of left field, didn't see it coming health crisis that forces you and those around you to kind of take your health a little bit more seriously.
And the square,
And then the youngins, go
the
ahead.
structure, like the squares, they bring the
Mhm,
structure. So even though like Uranus, is um unpredictable,
mhm.
have the end goal to getting you back on track with like, hey, like this is real life. Come back to your body.
Yes. Yes. And then there are the youngins. So, if you were born between 2003 and 2011, then you had Uranus in Pisces. And so you're going into your opening square. This happens right around the time you turn like 21, 22. This can be a really chaotic phase in your life. I mean, think about when you turn 21. You know, sometimes shit hits the fan, and a lot of times it's you being a little rebellious
Well,
and
that's like
exerting.
for going against the structure. You see, so like the
Exactly.
structure, the other one's like, oh, I need structure.
Exactly, exactly. And this is that opening square where you start to, be a little rebellious and break free from the Saturnian structures of the family or authority figures in general and like truck out on your own, right? And so these age groups, 21 to 22, 60 to 40, and then like 41, 42, we're all having major Uranus transits as Uranus transits through Gemini. And so taking some time, if you fall in that age group, which most of you do, like most of my following is millennial women. So like most of you have Uranus in Sag or maybe Uranus in Capricorn. But this is really impactful for us. And I think especially those of us millennial women with Uranus in Sag, we are going to be the ones being like, hey guys, the information is coming at us from all directions. Let's try to use this in a wise way. Sag is like wisdom, universal wisdom, the higher mind, the higher self, the teacher, the mentor. And many of us may be triggered into a like teacher or mentorship role during these times. And then of course the the 61 to 68 babies with Uranus in Virgo may have something to do with their health. I mean, around that time, health problems tend to come up in your mid 60s. And then, the youngins, I feel like that is I feel like that's a little bit of like the uprising and a little bit of the revolution that will be popping off from the information sharing. Those 21, 22-year-olds, like they aren't going to be taking no shit. They're going to be the ones at the
Definitely.
protests.
I feel like they will be showing us how to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like even like spoken word might be becoming more of like what you don't think of it as such an aggressive tactic, but I think they will
Mm-hmm.
be aggressive. And that's I think the Uranus energy in Gemini where it's like you didn't even see that shit coming.
Yeah. No, you didn't even see it coming. 100%. And then because their Uranus is in Pisces, I feel like it's like a rebel with a cause. You know, like Pisces has some sort of ideal that it's fighting for. It's rooted in like compassion and empathy, our fucking soul, right? And so I feel like it's very much going to be like a rebel with like a humanitarian cause of sorts, especially with Pluto being in Aquarius right now. Like it should be interesting to watch them come to age. Whoa. Okay. Um, my my oldest was born 2008, and my youngest was born 2011. So they'll be later. They're still teenagers right now. They'll be like towards the end of this transit. They'll be having theirs, but I have raised little revolutionaries. Like they definitely go against the grain. So it should be interesting to watch them.
Yeah, you have first row seating.
Exactly. Okay, a couple more questions in regards to Uranus in Gemini. Okay, so as a neurodivergent girly, heavily on the spectrum, all of the things, all of the diagnoses, what do you think this would mean with Uranus? I mean, all the mutable signs, especially Gemini, already have like ADHD characteristics about them. They're restless, they're mutable, they're shifting, they're adaptable, they're over here, then they're over here, and they're not very grounded because they're mutable, right? But what do you think Uranus and Gemini might mean for those of us who are neurodivergent or on the spectrum, you know, ADHD, autism, etc. Those of us with these like highly sensitive nervous systems. It seems like we would have to be even more mindful going into this, or we are going to be, our symptoms are going to be worse than ever before.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. Like,
Definitely feel that.
but I think that's why speech pathology, I
Mm,
like that's a career that's gonna thrive.
mhm,
Right, like that. I think I have a friend who she technically wants to go in that direction, but had mentioned that like that technically funding wouldn't be available for them, like
mm,
after graduation or during something along those lines. And I was just thinking about like, well, that like Uranus and Gemini is gonna need all the speech pathologists, all the speech specialists. Like, um, you kind of can't forward or have a future without people who are skilled in speech because you're gonna be coming across so many different people that will be needing different techniques and also, like, just that consideration, right?
mhm,
Because I feel like, at least, like, when I grew up, like, the only accommodation I had was ESL, like,
mhm,
second language, and I quickly got taken out of that because I advanced in English, but I I don't know, like, I as a neurodivergent person also, like, I was like, "But I learned better when I was doing ESL with that consideration, that attention, that" um, so I think well, like, if we could, make recommendations or see change in our world, that would be great if to
mhm.
have yeah, just having more people to consider, um, that we all need help like that.
Yeah. The problem with trying to predict what will happen with Uranus in any instance is that Uranus is unpredictable. Like Uranus is the planet of unpredictability. And so it's hard for us to really tell what direction things will go. But Gemini does govern that like early childhood education where people like you or me needed a lot more help. Like I needed tutoring, I needed all this stuff. And still need help. You know what I mean? I still need a lot of help. Um, but I feel like Uranus being that planet of like breakthroughs and also like the light bulb going off and new systems being built. I hope that we see some sort of breakthroughs in that realm that maybe helps accommodate us a little bit better and not just like, here's some drugs, go take the drugs and try to be like the other kids, you know what I mean? But actual changes that are
Yeah.
like radically different that kind of shift towards, you know, helping to support the things that we are brilliant at because We're better than the normies at certain things, let me tell you. And then also maybe help accommodate the things that we aren't, you know?
Well, like, I think about it, like, it's just like air and earth. Like, if someone has a heavy earth energy, the air and Uranus energy would help drastically to move them during that time.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
in the 7, 8 years that Uranus Gemini, like, it would help just go. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little excited to see how Uranus and Gemini will affect my husband because he's heavily Capricorn, and I'm like, "Okay," like, because he's homeboy is chill, stoic as fuck. I never know how he feels. I have to literally use my Cancer moon to be like, okay, he's okay." But, like, on the outside, statue. Love him to death. And I feel like the Uranus Gemini might get him to be more expressive or even just, like,
Yeah.
action even though he is a cardinal sign with the whole, Capricorn, but I almost feel like there's even more of this energy of, like, "I got this, I'm going." Where, like, what, these ideas are come to life, and because, I'm cardinal energy, I'm gonna bring them to life.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like we will see breakthroughs in communication, across the board. And then he's a Libra sun or Libra rising?
He's a Libra rising. Yeah.
So it'll trine his rising sign. So yeah, definitely breakthroughs in how he shows up in the fucking world. You know what I mean? He's gonna radically shift, radically change.
He's gonna be, unrecognizable, I think, but I'm trying to be already self-accepting now.
Yeah. I have it transiting my 10th house, and so I'm hoping for those like career breakthroughs, you know? I'm making a
Hey,
new website.
I'll get
Say
that
what
book
again?
get that book going.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Okay. So this one's a little technical, but what do you think about the concept of like neural plasticity and whether we might be like rewiring our brains with Uranus and Gemini to be able to kind of take in the like higher frequency that Uranus represents? Like Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, right? And Mercury is information and mental frequency, but then Uranus is like that expanded. So what do you think about like Uranus moving through Gemini and then like us just being completely different and then the kids who will be born with
Well,
Uranus and Gemini?
like, what comes to mind is, like, mediumship,
Mhm.
right? Mediums, people that do speak to other realms, like,
Mhm.
I feel like they'll have that innately. But that too also I think because of the way we've set up, I think, our society, like that type of stuff, like you won't get burned anymore, right?
Mhm.
The witch because she's talking to someone else on the other side or whatever. Um, so I kind of think that with people incarnating into the world, so children, uh, they might keep their gifts versus how like you react to the environment you incarnated with, and at least I know I got scared and put everything back, like I was like, oh nope, not
Yeah.
seeing that, not doing that, because again I'm heavy water, so I know I have those abilities. I tuck them away out of fear, and I think
Yeah.
that these kids, they're like that fearlessness is kind of in their charts, like
Mhm.
with the Aquarius Pluto, where you're not afraid of the future. You're actually afraid. You're gonna take control back, but you're gonna do it in such an intuitive, like, high octave type of way that it's a little, it's a little unsettling because it reminds me of, like, these people that were like, "Oh, new Earth, new Earth." I'm like, "No, actually, I think new Earth is coming."
Yeah. I agree 100% with what you said. And yeah, we came into this world with gifts and then we suppressed them. For me, they were like medicated out of me. Like I was on so much Ritalin that if a doctor prescribed that much to a kid nowadays, he'd be imprisoned. I was on twice the dose of a grown man. Like it was way, way, way too much. And it took me a long time to get off of substances. And then my gifts, as you call them, came online. And I feel like these kids are definitely gonna be born with that, like Uranus. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, these all are very psychic planets, but they're different. Like Uranus is clear, cognizant downloads of information, these like aha, these light bulb moments where like you just know shit, you know? Neptune is like, I feel it, I see a vision, I had a dream, there was a prophecy. You know, Pluto is very penetrating, it gets down to the bottom of things, but Uranus is these like clear, cognizant downloads of information. And these kids are going to have that in their chart. And then because of that, you know, Gemini governing early childhood education, the way we educate these kids is going to have to be different. I mean, you're going to see how people educate their kids radically change. It's going to be like, of course, like me, I'm like homeschooling my kids. And then there's going to be on the other side of that where it's pretty much AI teaching your kids in the public school systems now. And that's very Uranus and Gemini. And also rebelling against the school system and doing it yourself is also very Uranus and Gemini. And so we're going to see this major shift in how we educate children early on. And we're going to have to do it differently because these kids are going to, their minds are going to be just so weird and different, like so out there.
Well, that's it. It's just funny because it kind of reminds me of like X-Men. You know how like the school of like whatever. Like I forget I my head, but I forget the actual line. But it's like gifted, talented, their skills, and I kind of feel like that's somewhat in the realm of how now we could see it as like um mediumship, channeling, all that. Like I think
Mhm.
actual schools build not just like workshops or community centers. Like I think institutions will be built. Um, Popular college, right? Like esoteric knowledge. Like I think stuff like
Yeah.
that will also be thriving more.
And I also would think that these kids are going to be like so defiant in their communication to whether it be their parents or their teachers or whomever, anybody who they view as like an authority figure and that authority is like corrupt or not right or unjust, you know what I mean? Like they are going to speak
They're
their
gonna
truth.
everything. Question everything. I think the question literally with Uranus and Gemini is what do I trust? What can I trust? Who?
Yeah. What do I need to break free from? Like, and it's gonna be they're gonna be a little fucking rebels, you know what I mean? Like 100% that generation. And they're really gonna rebel against information.
Hmm.
Like the traditional realm of information, what it is that they're being fed. Previous generations, they see something, they read something, they're just like, that must be true. You know what I mean? These ones are going to know because in the world they're being born into, they're going to, like you said, question everything, but they're going to have the ability to kind of do that and to kind of have that clear, cognizant inner knowing that helps them to kind of navigate the realm of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing, and then see if there's anything else that you want to add. So you had mentioned this earlier that Gemini governs the lungs,
Mhm.
right? And so therefore, I assume the breath.
Yeah.
How do you think our like respiratory system will be impacted? I'm wondering how like toxins may play into this. Like, erratic changes within our respiratory system, maybe because of the old stuff they're spraying in our sky or whatnot, and how maybe we could navigate that. I'm looking into getting like an air purifier or whatever. I thought maybe that seems very Uranus in Gemini moving forward. But I just
Well,
wanted to kind of get your 2 cents on like the lung aspect.
so I also think that like with the because I hate to say this because like we live in California, right? And Aries is a fire, and usually when there's Aries transits, especially like Aries Mars, um, Aries Saturn Neptune, I think we're gonna get more wildfires, fires in
Mm,
different places, burning down institutions. So I think that comes over into the Gemini sphere of pollutants in the air and having
mhm.
um need lung support. Like, literally, I think, like, it Sprouts has, like, droplets of lung support. I forget what exactly they have in there, um, but I usually recommend that, for people that smoke a lot of weed, smoke just in general, and just the pollution that happens every day, like, even being in traffic. Like, if you're in traffic for more than 2 hours, you're definitely inhaling all the, carbon monoxide and God knows what else.
Yeah.
Uh, but that I also think, um, like, Gemini can also, like, induce, like, rapid breathing or, like, hiccups. Like, you end up like, hiccups are a symptom of, like, you're not getting enough air because you're, like, you're holding, holding tight. Um, Technically, a little bit of Uranus, Taurus also this because it's, like, it's all kinda connected here. Um, or hiccups are to help you to catch back with your breath. So both Uranus Taurus and Uranus Gemini, breathing is a big, tactic in helping them out.
Interesting that during Uranus in Taurus, everybody has had to wear masks for,
Yeah,
like, a long period of time there, like, literally, like, an unpredictable change in how we breathe, you know what I mean? And, like, all of that came during that time. Should be
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, good. We live in California. Good thinking about the fires. We already had that really bad one in Malibu, and it's still like our oceans are just poisoned, and sea animals are just washing up on shore left and right. And yeah, we're definitely heading into fire season with all that Aries energy.
yeah. That's a wild mix, especially because, like, if the wind actually winding, it's unpredictable fire, right?
And, we're probably also heading into like protest season with everything happening in the world and all of these outer planets moving into air and fire, Uranus moving into Gemini. A lot of that has to do with like rebelling, uprisings, revolts, and they're like real quick to spray um neurotoxins and gas and whatever else at our protesters. That and also the new weird sound technology that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
using. That seems very Uranus and Gemini as well.
Yeah, but also a little Taurian, like, because of like, but it's not melodic, but that's also Uranus Taurus.
Yeah, definitely right there as we shift into both of these. Um,
Space, I feel.
okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to maybe add on Uranus and Gemini that we didn't cover?
Because I feel like you did a really good job, especially, like, bringing up the, like, because one of the things that I was thinking about was the how we're gonna change schooling structure.
Mhm.
Like, like, I think that's taking also power back
Yeah.
from, uh, especially, all the conspiracy theories being mostly true, like, you know
Yeah. I ain't sending them to I'm not sending my kids to school. Nope. 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 I guess the last thing that maybe we can kind of end on because I think, like, it's the most important and most toxic thing for us moving forward is tech. And how technology, I think, is going to play into all of this and result in like an information overload if we do not navigate it. But then I also think like, okay, Gemini is data, information, communication of ideas, and then Uranus tends to break us free from things. And so I think we will be seeing like a mass exodus of people from certain social media spheres. We're already seeing this happening. A lot of people are leaving TikTok and Instagram, coming to Substack, which is a little bit more slow paced, a little bit more intentional. And then a lot of people, and what I love is that it is nonpartisan. You see people on both the right and the left, and those of us in the fringe middle, revolting and rebelling against these new information systems. Oh, I should note that the last time that we had Uranus and Gemini. was 1941 to 1949, and apparently that was the birth of the computer. We
Oh,
had Yeah, I didn't realize it was that old, but, like, the birth of those big computers that took up, like, whole rooms and, like, only the government had. We also saw the birth of the World Wide Web during the last Neptune-Saturn conjunction in 1989. And so, like, the birth of the computer, the birth of the internet, we're in that energy again, and we're seeing, of course, the, like, rise of AI infrastructure, but unlike the birth of the computer and the birth of the Wide Web, which everybody was like, "Yes, give me more." People are like, "No, I've had enough." And people are really, Uranus, rebelling against this new system of information, and I love to see it because I am not a fan.
like, you know how right now everyone's talking about how AI is gonna leave us without water, and that's
Mhm.
Taurus of that insecurity, food insecurity, water insecurity, and I do feel like, like with that, Uranus and Gemini, we'll get how people now are, you know, where we rebuke this. We let's do in person, right? Like we need to feel real people. Let's because I think also Gemini is a very well, it's a relational sign. You see it in literally its symbolism, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's also kind of what saves us from what Uranus and Taurus put through in a way. A
Yeah.
reflection.
And you and I, that's actually how we met,
Yeah.
is at the local markets. We
Yeah.
both read astrology charts at the local, like, magic mystic markets. If you are local to LA, you can come see us both at the next magic market on April 19th,
18,
18th.
yeah, 18, 19.
18th 18th,
Yeah.
19th is like a 2-day event. You can buy tickets for just 1 day, and come and see us and everybody else. I am loving these markets, the community. Everybody is so nice. There's so many of you I'm gonna have here on the podcast, and yeah, that's where we met, and I love it. And the getting out and off of the tech, off of the computer, off of the World Wide Web, and getting out into the communities, although you and I still have to use tech to read the charts. But I'm not connected to the internet. Um,
True.
but, getting out there and having that connection, that face-to-face communication with people is definitely gonna be one of the ways that we make it through this. Gemini governs networking. Gemini governs that communicational connection that is not just I'm typing long comments and arguing with you in the comment section, although it does govern that. And my Gemini partner does love to argue with people on the internet about the moon landing is his current thing. He's like, "You don't believe we really landed on the moon." Ugh, but Gemini governs our mind and our mouth and the ability to share ideas with each other and communicate back and forth. And yeah, I love these markets, and I can't wait to see you in April.
It's been a minute. Like I'm excited to be back out. Like it's gonna be so much fun.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, spring. Yes, I can't wait for all these magic markets. Okay, before we close out, tell everybody how they can find you. I'm going to put your links down below when this is finished and uploads. It takes a while to do that, but I'll put how they can find you. But like, tell everybody how they can work with you, how they can find you. I know you're here on Substack. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm on Substack. I'm very much like Moon, Venus, Mercurial vibe. So I'll definitely put you through some waves because I'm Cancer, Moon, Venus, and then Leo, Mercury. So it's a little bit of like diffuser energy, but then also like a hurricane, because like a little bit of that heat. So it just really depends on where the stars are at the time that I'm communicating to you. But I do have some articles where I go into the body astrology of it all, of like how, like tips, tricks of like how do you navigate this, and I also encourage people to take what resonates, especially because everyone's chart is different. So what I'm saying is very much archetypal energy, but I think that also kind of starts conversations and triggers thoughts and gets people going, and I like that about Substack that I feel like it slows us down, but also we're connecting people with ideas, thoughts, feelings, connecting back to themselves. So there, I still kind of have like a good presence on Instagram. I like Instagram because I'm a very visual person. So I do post on there, stories, highlights, and everything is Starwitch Haven. And then starwitchhaven.com is where I have my website, bookings, and yeah.
That's why I like you so much, is because it's like we got that witch thing in common, the astrologer thing in common. Like a lot of my favorite astrologers, actually, the next astrologer I'm going to have on for the Pisces moon is the True North Witch. And she is also like a witchy woman who is an astrologer. And I think that I just vibe with that. You know what I mean? I vibe with that. And my magic is like heavily revolves around timing
Yes, yes.
and the sky and the stars. Like, I am never trying to like exert my will upon things. I'm not like trying to like
Oh,
manifest money unless it's like second house transit or something. Like my like magic really revolves around syncing my life with the grand design. And I love my witchy astrologer women. I'm like, love
no,
you.
the same. A lot of timing. Mine's more it's funny because I again, like, I do very Pisces, Virgo, my rising descendant vibes, where I feel that my magic is very boundaries and clearing. A lot of that, like, um, so limpia sprays during full moons, new moons, my that is my jam.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope to have you on again at some point. Make sure you guys, you're here on Substack, you're watching this on Substack, so go over and follow her Substack. Her writings are phenomenal. Find her on Instagram at Starwitch Haven. If you're watching this later, all of her links will be down below. If you have some sort of medical ailment and that you would like some sort of astrological insight towards, she is the medical astrologer I send all my clients to when I'm like, hey, I think you might want to see a medical astrologer. I give them her information. Go and book with her and let her read you for filth. She's very blunt.
Feel like if you don't know where to even start, like, my body astrology assessment is pretty good because I look at your whole chart and I look at, your elements, your modes, your houses, break it down for you, and then that way you get more of a not just a self-awareness of like, "Oh, this is how I operate," but, "Oh, this is what I'm missing," you know? Like, I'm like, to bring to your face, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, and how do you, feel whole. Yeah, holistic health.
And I love that you like, when you send the replay, you also send, like, notes, like, "This and this is what I said, this is what you need, supplement with this," like, it was, like, all kind of, like, written there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like that. I'm like, "This is recorded, you can watch it back as many times as you'd like, and you're gonna take your own notes," but, like, you really
Or
kind of had that there. I was like, "Oh, that's nice. She's a better man than I."
wait,
Okay, I
that's so, Virgo rising though. You know, because it's like that's how you balance your energy out. Like, me as a Pisces rising, I have to write or else, like, it's too woo.
see, if I were to write, I would do too much, and I know that about my and that's actually how I started. Like, when I first started reading charts, I did not do live videos. I did, like, long written reports because I was still learning, and I took my time, and I pulled my books, and I did my research, and I really had to sit there and, like, think about the chart and be like, "Okay, this," and so it was, like, written reports, but I had to stop doing that once, of course, I learned more and I could just kinda do it off the top of my head with a little bit of notes there, because that would consume me. My Virgo ascendant and my Virgo Mars is going to do too much, and I did. I did too much, and so even now when I do, like, the mini readings for, like, an eclipse or something like that, and I'm just doing a recording, I used to write some notes before going in, and then do the recording. But then it would be like not mini. It'd be like so freaking long. I'm like doing too much. I'm like, I can't do that anymore. I have to just go and do it, you know? And yeah, now I have the knowledge to be able to do that, but yeah, I can't write. I'm gonna write too much. I'm gonna spend too much time, and the amount of money you're gonna have to pay me for how much time I did, it's gonna be too much. So yeah, but I love how we're opposite. You know, you've got that Pisces ascendant, I got that Virgo ascendant, and we've kind of figured out how like the opposite works for us. I love that.
Great.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad we could do this, and I will see you next month at Magic Market. And you guys make sure that you give her a follow. And yeah, check out her Substack and her Instagram and go book a reading. Go book a reading.
You. I'll see you later.
I don't know how to do it like that. That's the new way. I gotta do it like
E-clients, they showed me.
who? I'm too old. I gotta do it like this.
E-client, yeah, because I used to be one of these girlies, but my
Yeah.
Gen Z, like, do this. I'm like, okay.
Which finger are you using?
So, like, the first, what is this? Oh,
Oh, that's the thumb.
it's the, right? Yeah, the one's closest to the thumb. And then,
That is weird. I don't like it. No.
well,
I'm a
I guess.
millennial.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye. Happy eclipse, everybody. All right.